campaign, but law and order always features on the list of voter concerns. So let's talk about it now and start with you, Mr. Goff. The crime rate, according to the statistics, is coming down. Why do you think that is?
Oh, if you look at the latest police statistics, they've got a chart showing that the crime rate has been coming down since the mid-1990s. And there's well, I'm sorry, John, you can shake your head, but they're in the statistics and the graph's quite clear for anybody who picks the document up and reads it.
So why did you find it necessary to really toughen up on sentencing, as you did as Justice Minister?
Yeah, I did take a tough line.
When crime was coming down?
Yeah, I did take a tough line because I thought that our sentencing and parole laws were quite inadequate. We had a law, for example, that said that at 2/3 of your sentence, even for the most violent offender, you were automatically released. We've seen that with a person that's about to be released now, that the psychologists say shouldn't be released.
You filled up the jails, though, didn't you? And
yeah.
Did it really do anything?
Look, being tough by itself isn't enough. And I said many times, and I still believe it now, that unless you are tough, equally tough on the causes of crime, then you'll keep getting young people coming through into the system that will be offenders on a revolving door basis. And that's why I introduced a program called Te Hurihanga, which took some of it was some of the teenagers, 14 to 17-year-old in the Waikato, that had offended many times over. They're on their way to jail. We brought in an intensive program to straighten them out. I worked with Stephen Tyndall and Judge Carolyn Henwood and with other people. And we got an 82% success rate in reducing reoffending. Unfortunately, John, you came along and you scrapped that program because you said it was too expensive.
Okay.
It wasn't as expensive as the $100,000 you spend each year on having someone in prison.
OK, Mr. Key.
Yeah, so it's a basic fundamental tenet of a decent society and a good society that people feel safe. And I believe absolutely passionately in that, and I feel very strongly about it. And as Prime Minister, I've followed through exactly on what we campaigned on in 2008. And Phil can try and rewrite history, but if you go and look at what Judith Collins and Simon Power have done over the last 3 years, they have both done an outstanding job. We've changed 18 Acts of Parliament, right across from bail to parole to sentencing to 3 strikes, you name it, we've done it. And yes, the crime rate is falling, and yes, the imprisonment rate is falling, and no, it wasn't always falling, because I remember you in the first year that I was in office as Prime Minister, when we were picking up the late stats of the then Labour Party, you came and said to me, how come the crime rate's going up? You interviewed me on it. TV1 did and ran the story about the crime rates, and I said, you wait and see under a national government. So we have gone out there and worked incredibly hard, I think, given the police more resources, given them much greater powers. We've gone along and said, look, if a woman's in a home and she's in a violent situation, you can get an on-the-spot protection order to help that woman. We've said, look, we're not just going to give bail to anybody that comes along and says they should get it, or parole to them. And in fact, we're campaigning this time on a thing called a civil detention order, where we're saying, look, we think over the next decade there'll be 5 to 12 people who are likely to commit crimes of a sexual nature against children. They don't have preventive detention. In other words, their sentence comes to the end. The parole board wouldn't let them out if they otherwise would. We're going to make sure that they're out of harm's way.
Okay.
That's what we've done.
John,
yes, you can.
John, do you think the extra 1,250 police officers that we paid for and recruited under the last term of the last Labor government helped with the crime rate?
Well, I think frontline police do a magnificent job, and that's why we've added 600 in the time that we've been in office.
How many of those were paid for by the last budget of the Labor government, John?
It takes a lot more than just 600 police. You actually have to go out there and give them the resources and the tools, and we've done exactly that.
Quick point, and then I want to move on to you with alcohol.
If police officers are part of the front line of defence, why have senior police officers just been advised that you're deferring all recruiting next year, but that announcement must not be made until after the election?
Well, firstly, you can sort of make things up.
Well, is that true?
Well,
no, sorry, is that true?
Well, look,
that's what I've been told. That's what I've been told today. Is it true?
That's an operational matter for them. But what
no, they've been told they've got to make savings and that the government requires it of them.
Well, what we expect them to do is this. We expect every government department and every arm of government to work hard to save money. And the police force have, under us, had 600 extra police. They've had a lot more equipment, tasers and the likes. Yes, we are, no doubt. I have no doubt that Judith Collins is asking them to save money. I have no doubt about that. But I'll tell you what the new Commissioner will do, because he's doing an outstanding job in his work. He will go out there and he will find savings in lots of places.
Mr. Goff, I'm moving on, OK? I'm moving on. I want to move on to alcohol, because that is a big part of crime. And police will tell you that a lot of crimes, it comes down to that. Now, What are you wanting to do about reducing the harm from alcohol? Is the answer to put the age back up to 20? What is it?
Oh, I'll personally vote for the age to go up on off-licence to 20. And I think that, that the pendulum in the 1990s swung too far in terms of liberalisation. I've got an electorate where liquor stores have sprouted up on every corner.
So you'd like to crack down on booze
I
culture?
think that the number of things that we need to do. One, lift the age for buying from off-licence to 20. I'll vote in favour of that. Secondly, I support the provision that we introduced that we'll leave it up to the community to determine when the restrictions should be put on, because the community doesn't want liquor stores all over the place. I'd support the restriction of hours so that they're not open all night long, so people can go out at 3 o'clock in the morning and stock up with more grog. I'd look at a minimum price where cheap grog is being used to get people intoxicated.
So that would increase the price of alcohol?
It stops the cheap end of the grog market being sold at prices where young people can come in and they can get totally intoxicated.
Mr Key, a lot of New Zealanders see getting drunk as a bit of fun and part of the culture. Is it that, or is it a serious social problem?
Yeah, so firstly, I think the misuse of alcohol is a serious issue for some members of the New Zealand community, and I think that particularly affects young people. And so we've made some changes in that area. For instance, there's zero alcohol for under 20s in driving a car. There are 132 recommendations that we've adopted from the Law Commission's report, and in the next Parliament that will go through the Parliament.
Why didn't you get that done, though? Why didn't you get it through? You didn't.
It's a massively complex document. It takes a lot of work. We've got to get it right. And yeah, look, I'm personally going to vote for the age to go back up to 20. But can I just make this one point? And that is this. The government can change the law, we can put more responsibility on those who host parties and all the rest of it. But if we really want to fix alcohol problems in New Zealand, we have to change the culture, and it's got to start not just with the politicians, but with every parent at home, every caregiver that's out there, and all of us in society. And look, my daughter has been living in France for a year. She's been on the AFS for a year in France. And I tell you what, it's interesting to talk to her. She's 18 years of age. She says, look, if you go in France and you go out and you're 18 years of age and you get drunk, you're seen as a loser. And in New Zealand, far too many young people think going out and getting drunk is cool. Okay. And we need to change that culture in New Zealand.
Quick word from Mr Goff and then we to the break.
I agree. You know, everybody thinks that suddenly with a magic wave of the wand you can pass legislation and you change problems. We have to change the culture of drinking. I think John and I both agree on that. But, hey, if it's good enough to stop under 20-year-olds drinking any alcohol, John, why didn't you follow the advice and all of the evidence that said that you should lower the level of blood alcohol that you're allowed to have when you drive?
That's what you're proposing to do?
Oh, yeah, we've agreed to do that from 0.08 down to 0.05.
Yeah, so at the moment we don't understand the number of people who are causing accidents between 0.5 and 0.8. So what the Minister's done, Stephen Joyce, again has gone out there and said, let's collect that data. Over about an 18 to 24-month period, we'll be able to interpret it and we'll be able to make sure whether we get it right or not.
Quick word from Mr Goff, because I want to know from a guarantee from you, you would lower the blood alcohol limit for adult drivers.
Because all of the advice from all of the experts and all of the hospitals and the doctors and emergency departments say, John, that should happen and it should happen now.
What? You had 9 years and you never did it.
Okay, all right.
I'm looking forward. Why are you doing it now?
We haven't got 9 years now. In fact, we are going to a commercial break, but